Hello and a very warm welcome once again to Match Point, the new program here on CCTV Africa every Friday that brings you sports news, action, highlights and features from an African perspective. I'm Mahia Mutwa. Here's what's coming up in tonight's show. The road to Morocco 2015. African players in AFCON qualifying action this weekend. Navigating the tides, the Morocco Sailing Federation makes plans to make the sport more accessible. And we take a look at the state of women's rugby in Kenya. Welcome to Match Point. There are 3 matches in AFCON qualifying tonight, which we'll touch on in just a bit. First, though, Uganda will be looking to boost their chances of making their first championship in nearly 3 decades when they host a Togolese side desperate for a win in Group E. Leon Senyange kicks off our AFCON coverage.
Expected to be the underdogs, Uganda have ended up sounding a stern warning as to their status as contenders in Group E. A draw against Ghana on the opening day of qualification, followed by a 2-0 win over Guinea, has put the East African side top in the group.
We really want to challenge ourselves and to see and to show to everyone that September 4 points we got are not surprise, are not accident. It is actual state of our quality and our hard teamwork behind the scenes and on the field of play.
Uganda welcome another West African side, Togo, in the campaign. The 2 sides have only met twice, with the West Africans winning both encounters. Uganda's keeper, Andy Mwesigwa, however, feels they have their work cut out this time round.
Togo and the rest of the teams in the group, they are strong teams. And of course, we do respect all of them, and Togo inclusive. But at the same time, we are playing at home. When you come to our home ground in Ambole here, we always take you like any other team we've ever beaten. So Togo is also going to fall victim because we're always, a strong team at home and we're always winning. We're always getting good results at home.
Togo, on the other hand, will be looking to getting their campaign back on track. Led by England-based Emmanuel Adebayo, they are the only team in the group that have failed to pick up points after 2 matches. Victory could hand them a lifeline in this year's qualifiers.
We are looking for victory. We know it's going to be a very difficult game in Uganda against Uganda team, which are looking very good. And don't get me wrong, right now we are against the wall. Just have to give it a go, give our best, play our own football, and see what happens next.
The quest for who qualifies gathers further pace as Guinea host Ghana in the other group fixture. Togo's chances are much better if they are capable of overcoming a Ugandan side that is eager to make it to their first Africa Cup of Nations finals since 1978. But a loss in Saturday's game could effectively end their ambitions of making it out of what is turning out to be a very competitive group. Leon Senyange, CCTV, Kampala.
Another team that's in action tomorrow is Ethiopia, who face Mali in a match that could give either side the upper hand in Group B of the 2015 Africa Cup of Nations qualifying campaign. Ethiopia's Warriors have lost both their qualifiers played so far, but remain optimistic that they will be in Morocco for the tournament's finals come 2015. CCTV's Girum Chala has more.
The Warriors have been preparing for the Mali clash on Saturday. It will be a make-or-break game for this side that has not picked up a single point so far.
I think we are making the right things to face Mali. It's an important match for us. We have 2 matches against Mali, and we know that if we want to go to Morocco in 2015, we have to make 4 points in the next 2 matches. So it's for that we are preparing.
The team is relatively new compared to the one that qualified for the African Cup of Nations almost 2 years ago. The players hope with the skills they have gained now, they are ready to pick up maximum points at home when they face Mali on Saturday.
We are using the same tactics as before. We know expectations are high for us to win the next game. If we want to qualify for the group stage, our coach is encouraging us with the same message. We are determined to beat Mali.
With 2 defeats so far, the Ethiopian national team finds itself in a difficult situation. And it's not going to be easy for the team to qualify for the upcoming Africa Cup of Nations. Even the fans admit this is not going to be an easy job.
We have lost twice and that puts us in a difficult situation. But you never know. If we can get 3 points from the Mali match and at least draw with Algeria, we have got a better chance of qualifying.
Previous AFCON, we have faced very easy teams, relatively easy teams for the qualifications. That's why we were participating in the AFCON 2013. In this particular one, I think it is a very difficult group stage because Algeria is the #1 African team right now, and Mali also, they are very good teams, but still we have the chance.
The team's head coach Mariano Barreto has also raised concerns about the poor performance of the Walia Antelopes and understands the fans' frustrations.
When you don't win, you are not performing well. So they didn't say nothing special. We know that it's not only trying to playing well. It's also football. We need to win. So we are trying to win.
These Ethiopian fans anxiously await to see their national team qualifying for the Morocco 2015 Africa Cup of Nations. The bar was obviously set very high in 2012 AFCON qualifying, and many expect the Walia Antelopes to repeat the feat. They can only hope that the Saturday results go their way. Grumtala, CCTV, Addis Ababa, Ethiopia.
And just to update you on the AFCON matches being played today, there were 3 matches to be played. Egypt versus Botswana is already over in Botswana. Egypt winning by 2-0. Mohamed Salah of Chelsea getting 1 goal there. The game between Lesotho and Angola is currently goalless at halftime. Senegal and Tunisia get underway in just over an hour's time. Now to athletics, where focus on Sunday will shift to another city marathon. This time in the United States. The 37th edition of the Chicago Marathon is expected to offer some interesting duels. The talking point in the men's race is the battle between Kenenisa Bekele and Eliud Kipchoge, as both runners look to break the 2 hours, 3 minutes and 45 seconds course record held by Dennis Kimeto of Kenya. Bekele from Ethiopia is a track and cross-country legend with 3 Olympic titles to his name. Kenya's Kipchoge, on the other hand, has come second to Bekele on a number of occasions during their dueling days on the track, but on the road, he holds a better personal record and is favourite to win again on Sunday. Other men to look forward to in the challenge these two include Ethiopia's Tadesse Tola and Kenyan's Bernard Koech, Sami Kitwara and Dixon Chumba. Over $500,000 will be contested in prize money. Over in the women's race in Chicago, Kenyan Florence Kiplagat will take a shot at lowering her personal best time by almost a minute to 2 hours, 18 minutes. The Chicago course has offered its share of fast times in the past, with a women's world record broken there in 2 consecutive years back in 2001. Kiplagat isn't quite targeting the 2 hours, 15 minutes held by Paula Radcliffe, which has held for over a decade, unlike the men's timing. Celestine Carone now explores why the women are finding it harder to lower the fastest mark in the Windy City.
In the last decade, the men's marathon record has been broken 5 times by 5 runners. In this period, the total time shared is about 2 minutes. Since 2003, however, the women's marathon world record hasn't come down from 2 hours, 15 minutes and 25 seconds held by Britain's Paula Radcliffe.
It needs a lot of time. So if you go for a race and you are not ready, it's not easy to break.
2, 1. The men's elite marathon running progression has been attributed to competitiveness among the upcoming runners, something athletics commentators say is missing in the women's field. The closest any athlete has come to breaking Radcliffe's time in 10 years is 2 hours, 18 minutes and 37 seconds run by Kenya's Mary Keitany in 2012. But two-time world champion Edna Kiplagat believes Kenyan women are on the right track.
Right now, we have had some Kenyan women breaking half marathon records, 10K records, but that's what now we are looking forward to break his marathon record. It's only about training and looking for a race which is easy to break.
In Chicago this weekend, Florence Kiplagat will target to lower her personal best, which stands at 2 hours, 19 minutes and 44 seconds. The 27-year-old is eyeing 2 hours, 18 minutes with a course record set at 2 hours, 17 minutes and 18 seconds held by Paula Radcliffe.
Yes, it's achievable because at first she has done, she has a world record for a marathon.
Glorious isolation compared with last year when she was...
This year's Chicago field also include Kenya's Rita Cheptoo, the defending champion and World Marathon Majors leader, alongside Ethiopians Birhane and Mare Dibaba.
2:19:59.
36-year-old Edna has also set attempting the world record as one of her career targets.
What I'm looking forward is to break the world record and to go for a medal in Olympics because I've done well in World Championship, and those are the things which I'm still looking forward.
An attempt on the 2 hour 15-minute mark this year is, however, out of the question for the world champion who will be competing in New York next month. The wait for Paula's successor as world record holder, therefore, it seems, continues. Celestine Karone, CCTV in Nairobi.
All right, let's go to a break here on Match Point, but coming right up, we're joined by a Kenyan rugby official who joins us in studio to tell us more about the state of women's rugby in the country.
That's a terrific dunk right there.
Welcome back to Match Point. Let's shift gears and get into some rugby now. 4 teams will earn a place at the 2016 Olympics in Rio when the 2014-2015 IRB World Sevens Series comes to an end at Twickenham in May next year. The 4 best teams will qualify automatically for Rio and avoid the continental qualifiers to be held in 2015. And as the season kicks off in Australia's Gold Coast this weekend, the core teams will begin the journey for Olympic qualification. South Africa, who won Commonwealth gold for the first time this year, will be out to ensure a top 4 finish after coming in second last season. Kenya, Africa's other core team in the series, however, have their work cut out for them after finishing 9th in 2013-2014. Paul True will field a young side for the competition, and he knows the first leg will be anything but easy. Kenya faces American Samoa, Wales and South Africa in their pool. Now, all the talk in the IRB Sevens circles will revolve around qualifying for the Olympics this season, with the women's teams also undergoing a similar campaign. The 2014-2015 IRB Women's Sevens World Series marks the third edition to date, and joining us now live in studio to discuss the women's game further is Paula Lanko, the first female director at the Kenya Rugby Union. Thanks for joining us, Paula. I'll begin by asking you, obviously, by now we know that Kenya missed out on the World Series this season. Do they still stand a chance of qualifying to Rio 2016?
If you're asking me from a point of whether we're capable of qualifying, I certainly believe so. And I think for those of us that attended these just concluded Safaricom Sevens must have gotten a really good feel of how far the women game has come, especially in the last 3-4 years. We suddenly, as a union, and as a board, have to look very critically at the element of funding it, much better. And we need to put resources behind it, because we are not just going, it's not going to be a walkover. That's certainly the lesson that we learned at the just concluded, Sevens qualifier in Hong Kong. Yeah, but certainly I believe we can do it.
Okay. Now, obviously, the Kenya Women's Rugby Sevens team is not in the World Series, but they still do get to compete in several Rugby Sevens legs like Dubai. Do you think that these matches are helpful for the team, especially considering that for non-core teams, Rugby Women's Sevens matches are few and far in between?
Yeah. That's a good question, and maybe the first thing that I want to clarify is that playing in Dubai Sevens, even when you're not a core team or any other leg, we participate in 2 legs. That's Dubai Sevens and Hong Kong.
Right.
And you actually have to be invited by IRB to do so. So that in itself is a recognition of the feat and the progress, that they recognize the progress that the game is making in that particular country for you to warrant an invitation. Okay. I think the second thing I'd like to say is that it depends on the focus of the union. What is your target as regards women's rugby? We're certainly eyeing the Olympics, and we're also eyeing the World Cup qualifier. I mean, 2018 is on our minds, very much on our minds. But I think I have to say why it's important to participate is because, as we all know, it's the match readiness is important. If you're eyeing Olympics, again, if you're going for the World Cup qualifier, and again, we went through it in the just concluded Sevens qualifier, it won't be a walkover, and you also need the skill level and technique level to be able to rise up. And I think I just want to say also, when you have the opportunity to play at the world stage, I think the way you manage your game, it's never the same. It certainly has great, great positives.
Okay,
yeah.
Let's talk development now. What from the point of view of the Kenya Rugby Union, what plans or what initiatives are being put in place to popularize the game amongst women? And from your point of view, are they working?
I think they are, but maybe just starting with what we're doing. First of all, it's been quite a journey for us, because one of the main factors just to get you going in terms of development is, of course, the funding. We have been fortunate because there is a development grant that's offered by IRB, and there's also a very interesting program famously known as the Get Into Rugby program. So we're doing that. That is basically a fun way of introducing rugby at the primary school level.
Right.
So we're doing that as part of the development program, and that actually applies to both girls and boys.
Okay.
We also have, the talent centers, which we've referred to, several times in the past. It's been long in coming. It's not a walkover because you also need the school's involvement and buy-in in the process, but we are doing it. We're also engaging the Ministry of Education, just to ensure that rugby is also accepted as a core sport. Okay. And I'm very happy to say we have about 12 schools now that are actually participating, most of them in Nairobi, and I'm now specific to the girls' schools. We actually have about 12 of them. And I think just to say that and I'm very excited about this particular part, is that we will very shortly be launching the first 5 women clubs in this country. It's very much needed. And this particular season, we're looking at having a few friendlies. But the main thing that the board has decided is that they will play alongside the men, in the running fixtures, starting with Kenya Cup.
Okay.
We have participated, by way of demonstration matches. You'll see us that the Floodlights will be there at the final game on the 25th. And we also participated during the Safaricom 7 when we played against a team from the US, which I say we did superbly well.
Okay.
Yeah.
Before we go, how about the rest of Africa? What do you think about the development there, continentally now?
I think there's been great strides that have been made. I mean, again, just for any other country, and I've had the privilege through our travel, you know, when we go for the games to talk to people from, you know, the teams, Springboks. I've had a chance to interact with other teams from other countries, women teams. And what you find is that we sort of have a shared challenge. We're all struggling with the same issues of support, you know, matches, and also just financial support. But great strides are being made. And, you know, we hosted this year the CAR Women's Sevens tournament, and it's been around for about 4 years now. And they were only able to field about 4 or 5 teams. But this year, for the first time, they actually fielded 8 teams. I think that says that the fighting spirit, you know, and then just not letting up is certainly paying off. And, you know, we can see it's paying off. So the game is growing. And I just want to conclude by saying, you know, if you look at the story of the pace setters in the African continent, that's the South African box, both men and women, and focusing on the women, they go through the same challenges. Right. But the reason why they still continue to get exposure is for you to be able to compete and, you know, be able to compete fully like any other team. Then that exposure is very key. And we're looking to continuously have the same at our development level and also at the national and international level for our girls. Yeah.
All right. All the best to them. And we do hope that you will be even more successful than the men, hopefully. Paul Alanko joining us live here in studio, director with the Kenya Rugby Union. Let's take another quick break, but still ahead. Navigating the tides, the Moroccan Sailing Federation plans to make the sport more accessible. Welcome back. Now, the cost of sailing in Morocco is understandably prohibitively expensive, meaning it remains an elitist sport despite the country boasting nearly 2,000 kilometers of prime coastline. Now, though, the Royal Moroccan Federation for Sailing is seeking to make the sport more accessible for ordinary Moroccans. CCTV's Maria Galang has the story.
One of the world's most beautiful coastlines and prime sailing waters for Morocco's upper classes. But the Royal Morocco Federation for Sailing wants to change the sport's exclusivity, but it won't be cheap.
The reasons behind the reduced number of people who practice the sport is the astronomical cost of the boats. As a federation and also as a club, we are not turning our back on the sea. We only need support to buy boats, and the people who practice sailing will increase.
The Moroccan Sports and Youth Ministry recently donated 80 sailing boats to the federation, but this was insufficient to create a spike in sailors. Although Morocco has a population of 33 million and 1,835 kilometers of Mediterranean and Atlantic coast, there are fewer than 1,000 sailors in the country. The Moroccan waters also attract other sailors from the Arab world.
The competition is strong, but the sea in Morocco is different. We are used to the sea in the Emirates, where the wind goes in one direction. It doesn't change. Here, the sea has worn us out. Right, left, right. We try though.
There has also been an increase in women interested in the sport.
بيهتموا جدا بالممارسة البنات في البطولات. بيهتموا جدا بالحاجات دي وفي الآخر كاسات للبنات.
Morocco is one of the first Arab countries to enter a sailing team in the Olympics back in 1960. Unfortunately, the country has not gotten close to a podium position, but all that could change with a serious injection of funding in a country that is perfectly placed to thrive in this sport. Maria Galang, CCTV.
South African footballer Lucas Radebe has a long list of achievements to his name. Captain of English Premier League side Leeds, winner of the 1995 Africa Cup of Nations, World Cup 2010 ambassador, the list goes on and on. Recently, though, he was among a team of former Bafana players invited along to play a very different sport. And although he initially struggled to get to grips, it is a discipline that South Africa has high hopes for at Rio 2016.
Gearing up for the big game. But this is a sport that requires significant logistical effort. South Africa's top wheelchair basketball players gathered just outside Johannesburg for the Wheelchair Basketball Challenge final. And the players were not about to hold back. The event had its fair share of razzmatazz. And ahead of the final, a superstar team of legendary footballers, including the likes of Mark Fish and Lucas Radebe, tried their hand at the game.
Cool, man.
It was a total mismatch, but it gave the former Bafana men a new level of respect for the sport.
We complain about small things every day. We can run, we can do whatever we want, but they don't have limbs, and this is what they do. I mean, you can see how fit they are as well, and I think this put life into perspective. You're going to have to appreciate what you have and enjoy it, like what these guys do. And it shows as well that nothing is impossible.
You get to see how the things they do, and then it shows that the amount of time they're putting into their craft is the same as any other sport.
The final itself saw North Gauteng, here in black, take on recently crowned national champions Northwest. The rules are much the same as basketball. Players are required to throw or dribble the ball after 2 pushes of the wheel.
Okay, always get movement.
It's competitive and committed, and clashes are inevitable. This is Gift Moketsi. He was born with paralysis of the lower body. He took up the sport when he was 10, and it has allowed him to travel the world, playing in a variety of different leagues.
It's done a lot. It's done to teach. It's done me to see life inside and outside. It's the same thing. To see every person that I meet, it doesn't matter which color, that it's a human being. And it's done for me that when I'm there, I'm safe, because most of the time I'm training wheelchair basketball. Most of the time I'm sleeping wheelchair basketball. Most of the time I hit suicide, it's basketball. It's done a lot of marvelous job.
South Africa finished 12th at the London Paralympics, but after a number of retirements, the team is very much in transition. Despite that, the players are confident that they will qualify for Rio 2016 and take the game to a whole new level.
We went to the African Games now, beginning of this year, and we did exceptionally well. We came second. We were thinking about coming 4th out of 5 teams. And this is an experience that the guys extremely needed. So we're aiming for 16 for the Olympics in Rio. So we're hoping for the best.
As for the final, Northwest ran out 66 points to 34 winners, adding this title to their national crown. But for some of the players, the focus is already on 2016. Dan Williams, CCTV, Johannesburg.
Absolutely challenging. Great to see former Bafana like Mark Fish and Lucas Radebe getting in on the act. Well, that's it for this edition of Matchpoint. Once again, you can send your feedback to us. We'd love to hear from you. Matchpoint@cctv.com is our email address. You can also visit our Facebook page, CCTV Africa, or stay in touch on Twitter using the handle @CCTV News Africa. Thanks for watching. Join us once again next week. We leave you now with some images from the sporting highlights this past week.